In this lecture, we're going to take a look at dynamic components. Dynamic components are useful if you only know which component you want to render at runtime, depending on some conditions. Instead of just talking about it, let's see an example. I have opened up a new application where I added 3 global components: home, about, and contact. These components don't do anything, and the only thing they have within their templates is their names within an h1 element. What I want to do is to think of these components as individual pages and switch between them. This won't exactly be the approach that we're going to use for multi-page applications moving forward, but it's a significant improvement compared to what we saw in our first example application. First, opening up the app.vue file, we need a way of keeping track of which component is active, i.e. which view should currently be displayed. I will store this within a data property. Instead of storing the name of the component, I will actually store its selector, i.e. the name of the tag that should be used to render it. You will see why in a moment. But first, the data property. And I will name the property active view and set it to app-home initially. So how do we render the correct component based on the value stored within the active view data property? We can do this by using a special tag named component together with the vbind directive. So let's go to the template and add a component element. And on this component element, I'll use the vbind directive, in this case the colon as the shortcut, and an is attribute. And this is a special attribute, taking an expression, and the expression can be a data property containing a string, and this string should be the selector for the tag of the component that we want to render. So in this case, it's going to be active view. So what's happening here is that the component element or tag will always take care of rendering the component with the selector that's stored within our data property. And since I have set up the value of the data property to be app-home initially, let's test that the homepage shows up first of all. And indeed it does. Now all I need to do is to change the value of the data property, since I have used the vbind directive on the component element. I will do so with click event handlers within the navigation bar. So notice that I have already added links for the various pages in the menu, and I just need to add some click event handlers to these links. First up, I'll choose the home component, add a click event handler with the vOn directive. And as for the expression, I will simply assign a new value to the active view data property directly. So active view equals and app-home within single quotes. But before I copy this to the other links, I want to add the prevent event modifier. And this is to prevent the browser from jumping to the top of the page, which is the default browser action. And now I can copy this to the other links. And of course, change the selector here to app about and app contacts and app home up here when we click the name of the site. And these selectors match what I have added within the main.js file where I have registered these global components. And opening the browser again, I should be able to switch between the components. That's how you can dynamically render components based on certain conditions. Of course, you could use a computed property if you wanted to add some Boolean logic. The vif directive could also be used for simpler use cases, where you don't need this degree of flexibility. But if you don't know which component should be rendered at the time of writing the code, then this approach is useful. Now that we know how to do this, let's dive a bit deeper and talk about the lifecycle of dynamic components.